Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel and the neutral one. Spurs have lost to Liverpool 1-0. I'm going to go through the game in about 10 minutes or so and give you my thoughts on what happened. Let's kick off with the context going into this game, because I think that's always really important, because a lot of the answers come from those questions that are there at the start of the game. The big thing for Spurs was the difficulty with the injuries that they had. People like Sissoko out until April, as is Harry Kane. So how was Mourinho going to deal with that tactically and in terms of the mindset of the players? For Liverpool, it was business as usual, and they were looking to break records once again. So when it comes to the top line of this game, Liverpool did break those records. 38 games unbeaten now. They continue to march forward. It wasn't the most glamorous of victories, but they got the job done. In terms of top lines for Spurs, they stay 8th, now 9 points off Chelsea. But the big top line for me is that Mourinho hasn't changed his spots and he is still way too negative. So in terms of the lineups, there was a surprise in there. Tanganga, love that name, making his debut, his Premier League debut, and what a game to do it in. A game where there's starting to be a few grumblings when it comes to Spurs and the way that they're playing. It's all very sluggish. I think some of the worries that they had about Mourinho seem to be surfacing already. But Tanganga came in and there was a clear reason why he was in the team. They set up with a 4-3-3, but really they were actually almost playing 5 at the back at times, with Aurier and Tanganga being able to double up on Mane. But Tanganga in particular was there to do a man-marking job on Mane. Generally, he actually did very, very well. I think with Mane, he's just such a superhero of a footballer in terms of his ability on the ball, but also his strength when he's dribbling, that they needed someone who could just focus on him and be able to deal with his speed on the turn, the positions that he was going to get up in the pitch. And you saw Spurs have a very narrow back line of the 4, but the reason for that was it allowed Tanganga to stay in his shape as a right back almost, although he's obviously got the build of a centre back, but he would stay in that sort of inner line, that inside forward position, and concentrate on Mane and stopping him playing. I think with the lopsided way that Spurs set up, with Aurier on that right hand side and Rose on the other side, they were really concerned about Robertson and Mane, because those are the two attacking players for them. So it was a smart move that from Mourinho, a good tactical move in terms of the sort of stopping of Mane. In terms of going forwards, they then had difficulties in midfield. So you had Harry Winks and Christian Eriksen stepping into the fray as your two midfielders who were supposed to do a lot of the work. But then there was a lot of energy in front of that in terms of Dele Alli, Lucas Moura, and Son. Spurs were the main talking point because Liverpool was so simple and so set in their ways. The one change for them was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in. But from a defensive point of view, when it came to Spurs, there was that sort of block of a square of Eriksen and Winks, and then Ali +1, be it Moura or Son, trying to have a strong structure through the middle and then a very strong wall of defence at the back. Tactically, for me, it was super negative, not from a positional point of view, but from a pressing point of view. It was so passive from Spurs. They were happy for Liverpool to have the ball throughout the game. The only change came when the substitutions came in the last 15 or so minutes, where Spurs were a lot better, but they were a lot better because they were a lot more positive, because they had to be. The changes that happened, Lo Celso and Lamela were the two changes, and both of them had a really good, strong impact. Another part of that was that they went to 3 at the back as well, Spurs, taking Rose off. So Spurs really negative throughout the game. Tactically, a few changes at the end, but the big question marks have to remain over Mourinho, not from a way of stopping the opposition, but in a way of getting goals yourself. In terms of the average positions for Liverpool, Salah was the furthest man forward, as you normally expect. Actually, I think the starting position of Mane, he often makes that driving run across, a bit like Son does for Spurs. But Salah, generally because of the dominance of possession, it allowed him to be the furthest man forward for Liverpool. Alexander-Arnold's a bit deeper over on that right-hand side. Robertson was bombing on a lot in this game because, again, I think you had Mane being so taken up by Tanganga that Robertson was trying to get on, and you saw a lot of crosses coming from him down on that left-hand side. In the second half, with a couple of substitutions, they were just holding on to their lead and managing the game. When it comes to the key stats for me, when you're looking at this game and trying to understand what actually happened, it is possession. Possession is a big part of it for me, because although it was 1-0, 68 possession to Liverpool just highlighted how timid Spurs were. They had no desire really to get the ball off Liverpool. It was really just hanging on and surviving for 70% of this game. In the last 20 minutes, again, I understand that you're trying to hang in there with a squad that you're not happy with, but the players on the pitch there was a lot of attacking players that could have questioned the way that Liverpool were playing. And when they were questioned in those last 20 minutes, I think you almost had a lackadaisical Liverpool side who was so used to having the ball for as long as they wanted to, that when actually Spurs looked to throw a punch at them, they started to have a few struggles themselves defensively. But the possession, 68% at home for a team like Spurs, is not good enough. I think there were a lot of similarities to the Champions League game against Man City, but just not the same tenacity when they didn't have the ball, when they were in the sort of around 5 yards around the players that they were defending against. In an attacking sense, you can see it from the shots outside the box as well, that Liverpool really did restrict them to counter-attacks, and the number of bodies that Spurs were able to get forward were very, very few and far between. They were so stretched, and they were looking for Son to get onto a long through ball or Dele Alli to sort of find him. But both of those players, or more as well, they were looking to try and get the ball with the back to goal, try and turn and beat 2 or 3 players before they could even do that. So you saw a decent amount of shots from Spurs, but a lot of those shots being outside the box, which didn't trouble Alisson really at all. Man of the match time, and obviously, guys, I want to know what you think. Who was your man of the match for this game? Because I think it's actually quite a tough one to put forward. I'm going to go with Roberto Firmino, because in a game that lacked a touch of quality, it was quite a boring, intense game. Firmino, with that moment where he allows the ball to go across him to score the goal, I thought it was a great performance from Salah in terms of how unselfish he was on a few occasions. But generally, he was shut down by Danny Rose, who battled away and is always, for me, defensively in a one-on-one situation, actually quite strong. And he dealt with Salah quite well. But Roberto Firmino, with that bit of class, getting the job done for Liverpool, he's my man of the match. Alisson, I thought, was a great final sweeper there every time he was needed. He wasn't actually needed in terms of any real saves, but those sort of balls over the top from the counter-attacks of Spurs, I thought he was a really important part of the victory. But for me, it's got to be Roberto Firmino. But let me know who you think was the man of the match in the comments below. When it comes to Spurs side, I think you got to go with Tanganga. But overall, I think you'd be giving him that based on the fact that it was his debut. But the moment of class really came from Roberto Firmino. With every game, you have questions and answers at the end of it. The big question for me is, how do you want to spin this performance from Jose Mourinho's point of view? Because tactically, he got a lot of it right in a team that is under strength. The Tanganga move worked. He actually cleared one off the line in the first few minutes and did generally a very good job against Mane. It allowed them to still play Aurier, who put in a great cross, and there was a chance there, I think, for Lo Celso near the end where they should have got themselves a draw out of the game. And if they do, then it looks like a bit of a masterclass from Mourinho, because they've hung in for the game and then got themselves the result. But how do you want to look at a 90-minute game? Because for me, I felt like Spurs both hung in the game, so they were in the result, but they wasted 60-70% of that game by being far too negative. And the question that I would ask Spurs fans, or any fan, and actually Man United fans, would be interested to hear what you think, because I think it's a problem that you have to this day, is when you have that kind of mindset where you're looking to survive and you're not on the front foot, you're not proactive in what you're doing, hanging on in those games is one thing. And remember, they haven't got a point from this game. But the big question for me is, can this Spurs side break down lesser sides when they're told to switch it on and now go dominate a game and be positive? That would be the big question for me. Is Mourinho able to energise this team enough to get them the results that they need? Because for me, it feels sluggish, most importantly without the ball. And you can't underestimate that, because you see that with this Liverpool side time and time again with the players that are making these runs back to make good tackles. I think Lallana did it, Mane did it, Henderson always does it, Trent did it, I think, at one point as well. When you race back to win the ball back, that can really energise both the crowd and the team. And I can't see that happening in this Spurs side, especially with the way that Mourinho is setting them up. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Very soon, in the next couple of days, you're not going to want to miss the next episode of The Process, because it is with Ted Knutson, who's the owner of StatsBomb. He is changing the face of football with football analytics. We have a really good chat about what's important in player recruitment, what's important when it comes to managers as well. And it's a cracking listen, a cracking interview with a really, really interesting and smart man. So if you want to check that out, then hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're nearly at 40,000 subscribers, so it'd be nice to get to that mark soon. Let me know your thoughts on the new format. Do you like it? And let me know what you thought about the game, and of course your Man of the Match awards, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.
Oh wow, like no one's really doing this. Like look, we're giving you free goals. And that's where it got like really sexy. Took my retirement savings and started to build StatsBomb. StatsBomb itself has had a pretty big influence from the start. It's a gamble. Manager recruitment is horribly backwards. Guys that are considered to be a problem, they don't generally change much. Experience is vastly overrated.
If you're going to have a player who's got one attribute, what would be the priority for you?